Hello, my name's Joe Wilson and I'm a carer. I care for my 92-year-old mother and my 24-year-old son. 16 months ago, my son, who was 23 at the time, had a major medical incident, and he actually scratched a staph infection into his blood system. And in Wollongong Hospital he had 3 strokes. He had open heart surgery and was in RPA for a number of months. He also started having epileptic seizures, and they're fairly, big seizures, and his neurologist has requested that he goes to hospital every time he has a seizure. Discovered additional issues as the year has gone on, in that he's blind in his lower left quadrant, his hearing is impaired, he's constantly tired all the time, his short-term memory is not very good. He has a lot of balance issues. The responsibilities that I had was obviously organising all his appointments and getting him to those appointments on time. For the last 16 months, I've had 2 sides of the coin to look at. One with my mother being 92 and working through the aged care process, and also finding out that she has the onset of dementia. And I guess my carer's journey actually commenced with Joseph going into hospital. There was a lot of medical procedures, obviously, and we dealt through the whole process of heart surgeons, neurosurgeons, psychologists, psychiatrists, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, physiotherapists, and went through the whole process of getting Joseph back on the road. Extremely important, I think, to get an understanding of what the carer actually goes through, because it's a complete change of life. 1 minute working, full future in front of you, then of course next minute you're caring for obviously your son full time and my mother. I had to give up work totally, which became a financial burden, for us as a family as well. As a carer, you have to look after yourself. And I found that quite strange, because I guess I've always been pretty focused, and if that's my function and that's my job, I get on with it. But what you find is over time that even if you haven't got outward signs of depression or fatigue, internally it does show up, and it can show up in a whole range of different ways. The carer is very important in this whole medical process. In terms of a cog in the wheel, this is the driving of the wheel. This is the person that is there day in, day out with that individual person. The carer needs to be included in all of this, because they're actually doing the majority of the coordination, the work, the caring for that particular person, and they know, the ins and outs of it. I guess an example is, every time any medical practitioner, whether it was the nurse, the physio, they'd say, "How are you, Joey?" He'd say, "Really good." And he wasn't. I knew that. And so I would always have to, butt in, if you like, and just say, "Well, look, that's all well. Yes, he's doing quite well. However, this is a scenario, this is what he's saying to me." And I guess a perfect example of that was, I went to see the psychologist, and it was only at that point that the psychologist sort of pulled me in and said, "Look, Joey is suicidal." No one knew that. So the patient, in a lot of occasions, I guess, doesn't tell you the whole story, but the carer knows the whole story because they're living with them day to day. So I think an establishment needs to be made up front. Who is the point of contact? And in my circumstance, me as the carer was the point of contact for all medical procedures. Might look all right on the outside, however deep down, underneath that, there's a lot of issues. Life's not all good at home. because of brain injuries or whatever, and the person becomes very unstable at home but won't do that in front of other people. There's so many other hidden elements within the patient-carer relationship that the medical staff needs to be cognizant of at all times.